All right, today we're going to tear into a really cool piece of gear. It's the Quansheng TG-FR1 two-way radio. This is the kind of tech that's built for those what-if moments, when everything else just stops working. We're going to break down what it does, how it works, and really figure out why it might just be the reliable lifeline you're looking for. Okay, picture this. You're out in the middle of nowhere, maybe hiking, camping, or heck, maybe there's an emergency. You pull out your phone and nothing. Not a single bar. We've all felt that little pang of anxiety, right? Well, that's exactly the moment when a little gadget like a two-way radio suddenly becomes way more than just a toy. It becomes your connection. And really, that's the whole magic of it. What we're talking about here is a direct line, a simple connection to your group, your family, whoever you're with. You don't need cell towers, you don't need Wi-Fi, you certainly don't need satellites. This is pure, old-school, super reliable communication. It's for when you're off the grid, whether you meant to be or not. So let's get our hands on this thing, virtually at least. We're going to do a quick tour of the TG-FR1, check out its design, and see where all the important buttons are. Right off the bat, you can tell it's solid. It feels compact in your hand, but not flimsy. You can see from these different angles that it's really designed to be held and used on the go. That casing looks like it can handle getting knocked around a bit. And that's the key, right? This isn't some delicate smartphone. It's a tool built to be used. And look how straightforward the layout is. Up top, you've got your antenna and a nice big volume knob. Then on the side, that's the money button, the big push-to-talk, or PTT key. You can't miss it. On the front, you've got a really clear little LCD screen and a few function keys. Everything is just there. No digging through complicated menus. It's designed for quick use. So, getting this thing up and running? It's just as easy as it looks. Seriously. You just pop the battery in, crank that volume knob clockwise till it clicks, and then you press that big button on the side to talk. Boom, that's it. You're on the air. It's so simple. Okay, but this little radio is more than just a walkie-talkie. Let's dig into some of the extra features that Quansheng packed in here. The stuff that really gets you ready for when things don't go as planned. Now, this is a big one, especially for safety. It has a built-in NOAA weather alert. And trust me, if you spend any time outdoors, this is an absolute game changer. The radio is constantly scanning for those emergency weather broadcasts in the background. That means you get a critical heads up if a storm or something nasty is rolling in. That is huge. And durability? Can it handle the rough stuff? Well, this thing is built for the extremes. We're talking an operating range from a frigid -20°C all the way up to a blazing hot 50°C. For those of us using Fahrenheit, that's -4 all the way to 122 degrees. It can take it. So yeah, what that really means is whether you find yourself in a frozen, snowy landscape or trekking through a sweltering desert, this radio is designed to just keep on working. And that's what it's all about, right? Having that confidence in your gear, especially when things get tough. And there are a few other handy tools packed in here too. You get a built-in flashlight, which is always useful. There's an emergency SOS alarm. The audio is nice and clear, which they call HD audio. And importantly, it works on the standard 22 FRS channels. That's the family radio service. So it'll be compatible with most other common license-free walkie-talkies right out of the box. All right, so that's the basics. You're up and running. But now let's get a little more advanced. Let's talk about how you can fine-tune your channels to get clearer, more private communication, especially if you're in a crowded area where lots of people might be using radios. What we're trying to do here is prevent what's called crosstalk. You know what I mean. You pick a channel and you start hearing conversations from totally different groups. Other hikers, families at a park. It can get really noisy and super confusing. So how do you fix that? Well, this radio uses something called CTCS and DCS codes. The easiest way to think about them is like a secret handshake for your radio group. When you and your friends set the same code, your radio speaker will only unmute for transmissions that have that specific code. You're still on a public channel, technically, but you've basically filtered out all the other chatter you don't care about. Here's another cool feature for you, Vox. It stands for Voice-Operated Transmit, and it's awesome for going hands-free. So instead of holding down that PTT button, you just talk. The radio hears your voice and transmits automatically. And you can even adjust how sensitive it is. There are 9 different levels, so you can set it just right for a quiet environment or, say, a really windy day. All right, let's talk power. Because let's be honest, a communication device with a dead battery is just a plastic brick. So how does the TG-FR1 handle charging and battery life?
This is one of the most important, practical things about any piece of gear you rely on.
Okay, this right here is a huge win in my book. Look at that. No more bulky proprietary charging docks that you always lose. This thing uses a standard USB Type-C port. That means you can charge it with the same stuff you use for your phone. A power bank, a solar charger, the outlet in your car, anything. That is such a smart, modern feature to have.
And what are you charging up? It's a 1200 milliamp hour lithium-ion battery. That's plenty of juice to get you through a full day of adventure. And what's great is that the batteries are removable. So for longer trips, you can just throw a charged up spare in your pack. Super convenient. And hey, if you ever run into a problem, the fix is usually pretty simple. If the radio won't turn on, first thing to check is the battery, of course. If you feel like your range is really short, take a look at the antenna and make sure it's not damaged. And if you can't hear anyone, well, maybe just check if the volume knob got turned down. It's a good reminder that usually the simplest fix is the right one. So when you put it all together, what do we have? The Quansheng TG-FR1 really seems to be a simple, tough, no-nonsense communication tool. It's got the key features you need for safety and convenience, and it's all packed into a device that's super easy to use and clearly built for the outdoors.
And that kind of brings us to a bigger idea, doesn't it? I mean, we live in a world that is just flooded with notifications, pings, updates, constant digital noise. So in the middle of all that chaos, what's the real power of a device that does just one thing, but does it perfectly? What's the power of just a single clear voice cutting through when you need it most? It's something to think about.